allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good evening, everyone. First item on the agenda is nomination of appoint temporary chair. With that said, I would like to appoint Bill Jones as temporary chair. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, thank you. Bill, if you could take over.
Thank you. First item is nomination to appoint a chair. Is there a nomination?
I nominate Marco.
Second.
Are there any nominations for chair? Since there are no other nominations for chair, is there a motion to close the appointment?
So
For second? Second, okay. All those in favor of putting Marco as chair, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item will be nomination appointment of vice chair. There's no motion.
Mr. Shanzillo.
Is there a second?
A second.
Are there any other nominations?
There is. Debbie Rendon indicated that she would like to run as vice chair.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
No second? Sensing we have, are there any other nominations for vice chair? Okay, is there a motion to close the nominations?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Okay, nominations are closed. All those in favor of appointing vice chair Scanzillo signify by saying aye.
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 And all those in favor of appointing Deb Rendon signify by saying aye.
Aye.
By voice vote, it appears that Mr. Scanzillo has been voted in as vice chair. Next item would be nomination appointment of secretary. Is there a motion?
I nominate Deb.
I'll second.
Are there any other nominations for secretary? Sensing none, is there a motion to close the election?
Motion made.
Is there a second? Okay. All those in favor of approving Deb as secretary signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right. At that point, you have Marco, Mr. Scanzillo, and Deb Rendon. I now turn it back over to the chair, Mr. Marco Tessalonsky.
Thank you, Bill. All right, second on the agenda, approval of the minutes from October 24th, 2023. Did everybody get a chance to review the minutes?
Yes.
Are there any corrections or amendments to the minutes? If not, looking for a motion to approve such minutes.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I was a hearing, so.
All right, minutes are approved as written. Thank you, David. Third on the agenda, Birch Run, preliminary plan review. Sir, if you can introduce your party, a quick overview of your project for the public. The public will open up to the public after the staff and the engineers and the board is done asking them the questions. We'll open up to the general public.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Dave Fox with Obermeyer Applicants Council for Toll Brothers. To my right is Brian Deere, Vice President for Toll Brothers. We have some folks that may not have seen this plan yet, but by way of background, this is for 44 townhouses behind the new Wawa location. This property was originally part of an assemblage, including the Wawa parcel, Creamery Tire, and the vacant land that's there today behind Wawa, which was developed as a planned commercial center mixed use, which required a mix of uses. That requires a conditional use to be met, which was originally approved by conditional use. In order for us to be here tonight, we had to go through a conditional use process ourselves, which was preceded by several rounds of discussions and sketch plans to see if there was a layout, density, type of home, any and all details that were largely fleshed out to go through conditional use. We received conditional use approval for 44 townhomes, as you see on the plan layout to my left. For reference, West Butler Avenue, County Line Road, Creamery Tire, Wawa. Our property is to the rear of Creamery Tire from County Line Road. So it's a modified flag lot. And then with access, there's an existing access easement to the Wawa, which will connect through to our proposed development. Circulation out through the existing access to County Line, as well as the other side of the Wawa. We're zoning compliant in all respects. We didn't ask for and didn't want to ask for any variances. So what we're here tonight, this is actually a second submission of the preliminary land development plan. We wanted to clean up the plan and have the Mr. Kennard's office review the plan, make sure we came in with a clean letter. So all of the items will comply in the letter. There are 4 items we'd like to discuss, and of course have any questions or comments from the planning commission. But before I go to the discussion items, are there any questions or items you'd like us to hit aside from the 4 items we're looking for discussion or feedback on this evening?
Yes, I believe we have one.
I think he'll go over that.
You wanna go over it?
I'll just jump in real quick. Group everything Mr. Fox said. The layout is identical to the conditional use approval, which you did see. There's much more technical items, but the layout, road alignment, connection to Wawa that was requested by the township. Number of units, everything else is identical. You saw a couple sketch plans along with the board supervisors even before the conditional use. When they submitted their preliminary plans, we did one review of a lot of technical things. They agreed that it's better if we cleaned up the technical items. We had an engineering meeting, worked those out, and then you're seeing for you tonight is the second review of the preliminary plans. We're only requesting preliminary, so we don't have we don't need all the details worked out. There's one issue that they need to go back and they have to get approval from the board, need to work out till final. We can do that. If everything's worked out, then, we'll move on from that. This is our second review. I don't have any significant issues. I think Mr. Fox and touched on one forward tonight, and that's all I have.
We certainly won't get in the way of going to this preliminary final recommendation, but I think it's been framed by Mr. Kennard accurately. But
I'll be upfront. At planning level, they've seen this several times. If they're comfortable, I'll leave that up to them, do preliminary final. Obviously, at the board level, it might be a different decision, but we've done that before. Where, hey, you work out the plan issues, you already got conditional use approval. There's no resident issues. If there are, then we kind of work them out. If not, I don't have any objection to see how that goes.
And in any of it would be conditional because there are some things we'll have to work out anyway. And so the 4 items, first one, Mr. Kennard's letter, section B1 on page 2, relative to the requirement within the planned commercial center mixed use, requires architectural renderings of the final building designs to be presented to the planning commission and board supervisors. Brian, do you mind handing out the rendering? So we had, and I'll explain while you're handing them out. So we had brought some renderings previously, taken some feedback as to what was looked for, and we're trying to come up with something that meets what we think the folks would want in the township, as well as what those home buyers look for. So Brian, am I accurate saying it's a mix of modern and contemporary colonial architecture?
Yeah, if you recall in previous discussions that we presented the top rendering, the top elevations and the top image of the conditional use hearing. Did that previously. I think that was the look. We tried different versions of that. What I submitted to Mr. Kennard's office was an alternate that we like. It's a newer look. It's a little bit fresher look. I think it's still in the same color tones as what was shown in the CU hearing, but just a little bit updated, that we've signed it for this project here. And either way is good. We just want to comply with what's recommended, and we just want feedback from the township on if there's one of these that they like better.
We narrowed it down to these 2. This was kind of went through with the board and staff at conditional use. Some comments, feedback was a little more modern look from the board staff. And no one signed off on these two yet. If you guys have some input, that'd be great for them. I think it's one thing where eventually the board will, make a decision on that, but I think it's important for the planning commission to weigh in. They provide two options if you like one. I'd like to hear tonight, and then we carry that through before we.
Well, I think everybody knows how I feel about it. I think it's the wrong product for the wrong location. I don't understand why you guys would put two-story townhouses there. It would be so much more. It'd be easier to the eye, to the neighbors. And that,
In my opinion, we might be a little bit too late on that, but why did you guys pick 3 stories?
It's really a depth issue. It's a tightness and to maintain that large buffer that's required in this
What
district.
are they, 24s or
These are gonna be 22 by 40.
22?
It's the depth really, to maintain a compliant driveway and then the buffer in the back, we just got pitched.
Reduce the amount, reduce.
And I think, and you lose a significant amount of interior living space because of if you do a basement instead of a slab on grade at the garage level, you can't have living space then under the garage, where the 3-story, you can have the living space above the garage, and that does, for the homeowner, it does make a significant.
I was just voicing that.
Yeah.
This has been going on for many years, so.
It's funny, it's not, and I'm with you on the number of units, it's always easier for flexibility. In this case, based on the lot geometry and their the overlay district, but they're squeezed on the depth only because of the residents behind it. And originally, I think they violated that until I pointed that out way back when we started this process. So it got smaller and smaller.
Right.
Push over.
Yes, they did. They tried to go deep, and then with the overlay and buffer setbacks. So,
I just wanted to get off my chest, that's all.
no, that's fine. And they tried.
And one thing, the board, there was a height question, within the PCCM, there's a question of how high the building height can be. And the board of supervisors opted not to grant any relief to allow a few more feet in height. So we do have to make sure that, I believe it's 35 feet is the maximum height. So where normally these would be a few feet higher, so we'll have to adjust the roofs and the grading accordingly. So hopefully mitigating that concern at least a bit.
And these bottom ones, these could be like alternate colors, like a burgundy, a blue, or
We can change the color scheme. Again, we
just to make it look a little bit more.
Yeah, we really
friendly
want
to the eye.
feedback from the town, like, we just want feedback to keep this going as well, keep the conversation going, and we can come up with some. If kind of the thought is, there's some interest in the bottom one, I can bring in some different colors.
Like, no offense, but what they did on Bristol Road, and they look the same, they look like, it looks like an army camp.
And one thing the ordinance also has to prevent that type of look, there's a requirement for a 4-foot offset. So what you have in front of you doesn't necessarily show that as well. Jeff, do you mind putting the plan up? Is it 2 or 4 feet?
I believe it's 4.
4, but so if you see the driveways look like they're different heights, the actual buildings themselves have to be set back from each other. So I think, you talk about the giant sea of vinyl that you might see if there's no offset or a minimal offset. I don't think that doesn't look like it actually has a 4 foot, but you will have a lot more depth and character, so it's not gonna look like just one sheet.
What do you guys think? What do you guys think?
I like the more traditional on top.
Yeah.
I like the top.
I like the bottom one with different colors, more
Yeah.
villagey looking, but that's just me.
Yeah.
You traditional?
Yeah.
Traditional?
It's funny, I'm actually torn because I don't like the garage look on I like the more modern look we talked about at staff meeting. I just feel like the garages aren't protected, or it's just it's a very modern look on the bottom. I don't think that fits as well, but that's something they were directed on as far as doing a more modern look.
Yeah.
Maybe they could work with the materials up top if you guys, and, we'll pass that on to the board. Because it's just what you got, is there different colors on the top, Brian, or it's just the stone? And then
It's really the stone, it's a
Yeah.
variation, a mix of stone.
But that's the classic old, staff was kind of going towards, I think Brian and Nate, we were talking about doing a more modern look for this area. So that's,
Whatever sells.
Well, I'm sure the board will weigh in. It looks like,
Everything's.
seems like it's more laying to the traditional look, so.
So if we say it's a majority of the planning commission recommended the more traditional look, is that?
Is that what I'm getting, right? 1, 2.
I think I counted 3.
I like the top look with the garage awnings, but I like the window awnings on the bottom one.
Okay,
I think, right, I think we can, maybe we can talk offline. I like a combination, a couple of.
yeah, we could probably bring them together and do another version of it. Again, let the artists do their work, they can figure it out. And do an
Yeah.
image.
Yeah, that's
The bottom, just the garages look very stark.
Yeah, that's what
understood.
Yeah.
I agree with what Greg said. I think garage are more covered, but, yeah, I mean, they both look nice. They both look nice.
Well, I'll work with them on that, and then before they come in front of the board, we'll have some, maybe we'll have a newer one or option 3.
Great. And then, is there anything else before we jump to the next discussion item? If we could go then to section C8 from Craig's letter, that's on page 3. We're asking for a waiver. And Jeff, do you mind if pointing to the area on the plan for the waiver from installing sidewalk along the frontage of County Line Road? So there's some significant grading out there, and I don't know that we actually have on our property the right of way area to do a stub sidewalk up County Line Road. But one thing I talked about with Craig today, we was on our conditional use plan set. We had shown some greening of the property and an additional sidewalk on the access road coming into the property. So I absolutely do that. We agreed to that in the conditional
In the
use
back of
plan
green,
set. Yeah, so
Yeah,
we'll,
back, the back loading
Mhm.
area there where it's just kind of pavement across there. Kind of
so,
pulling islands, add some landscaping, it'll make it look better.
so if this waiver was able to be supported, we'd agree to a condition that the applicant show the additional sidewalk and green area along the
Would
access
there
road.
be any, would there be any, like, somewhat like our front district, like some lights, sidewalks?
Where? What are you talking about? I'm passing around the exhibit that they prepared, that was discussed at staff level. That's the drop, that's a creamery tire and driveway access they just pointed to. But what's your question, Marco?
It would just follow our overlay that we have in the front. Basically, the requirements, like,
No, following.
well, you know, the overlay.
The landscape, the
Yeah,
look of it?
yeah.
Yeah, it'll be. Very good. Yeah, there's a basin on one side and then we'll try to put the sidewalk on the other side.
Yeah, it looks nice.
This is the uncolorized version. Is that right?
Yes.
Of what you have up there? So that's the engineer line drawing. So, and do you mind talking through what's shown there from sidewalk on the access road?
Sure, this is currently as it stands.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay,
That's probably not the one that's being
No,
passed right
right.
now.
I'm sorry.
Well, I'm saying like,
But I believe-
the wall, that
The,
within the requirements of what we did on the frontage of 202.
Benches and loading and.
They're doing that internal.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
But in the same guidelines, right?
Yes, they're following the overlay district, but their feature and everything is near the mailboxes internal to the site in the corner right there.
Yeah, so I got
That's
you.
their overlay district, green space and benches, things like that.
Right, good.
If I may, if you come in from County Line, if you recall that entrance, there's a Wawa sign right there on the left. Grading is, as Jeff mentioned, so from the Wawa sign. Call it, is that west on County Line? To the far,
West.
yeah, that's west of the property line. That is actually our frontage. Right there. The other frontage where Creamery Tire is, that's remains with Creamery Tire, they'll retain that. So again, the sidewalk, the reason why wanted to discuss this, the sidewalk in that area on our frontage really goes to nowhere. Right, it's just dead end, so that's why in the CU hearing, we proposed to dress up the Creamery Tire backside, make it beautify it, you know, when you come in, it should be some landscaping as you come in.
That's what I'm saying, not just a sidewalk, you're gonna dress it up.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
plantings, we had plantings
Okay,
planted
yeah, good.
there, already talked to the owner of Creamery, he understands what we're doing, so
Yeah, it is pretty steep back there.
it's tough,
Yeah.
it's pretty tough.
Nate, what section were you referring to? We, in the waivers?
In the waivers, C8, 22706 2B.
Okay.
So the feasibility of putting sidewalk connection to County Line Road and along the County Line Road frontage. It's really not feasible, but in lieu of, we like to do the additional internal side.
So down the County Line Road, but not along.
Correct.
How's the board feel?
Yeah,
You guys know exactly what,
it makes sense.
I mean, on the County Line Road side, it is pretty steep. It's,
Yeah, I've been upfront with them. The board would like to try to see it worked out, but it is very difficult. I looked at it several times. It's very steep. The Wawa sign's there. I'm not sure we can even squeeze it in. If we somehow work out sidewalk connection, the rest of the properties which we are working on, County Line Road, and that's the last piece, then I'm sure we can figure out how to do it, but I believe, is there enough right away though? I think if we ever did sidewalk in the.
Had to go further west up County Line.
it's all residential.
That's a little drainage.
No, I know.
Yeah. that
Oh,
whole thing.
we got plans running it.
It's a good question. I would assume that Craig, the right of way is there.
If not, you can provide easement if we ever needed to.
Convey what we have.
I will tell you, the board would like to see walkway, trail, or sidewalk connection that whole line. So, you've had a couple other jobs come in, it's very difficult, but we're trying to get the whole way up to the Walnut Street, the railroad crossing, Kema Power Test has sidewalk, several other, Nappen has sidewalk, or
That's buyer's choice.
yeah, and there's a couple areas that can be difficult.
Napping, I think,
Yeah.
we weren't sure because of traffic.
You just
light.
approved, CP Rankin has sidewalk,
Yeah.
so we're filling in the gaps, so.
Yeah, okay. Then the next item, will be on page 6 of Craig's review letter. It's item D9. Section 22707A. This is bringing up an issue we previously discussed, and whether or not there could be an internal trail.
I'm sorry, where you at?
Oh, I'm sorry, top of page 6, section D9. So our original concept plan had showed a internal trail circulation in addition to the sidewalk. Do you mind showing to the rear of the units? And I believe that it's Airy Street, the next Airy Avenue. So when we're presenting that, some of the residents on Airy voiced their opinion that they would prefer not to invite folks to walk between the homes, and the connection point would have to be at the corner, so encouraging more pedestrian traffic and whatnot. So our thought, we thought that was off the table, but we would hope that remains the same. But we can gladly welcome folks to come into the property. Jeff use the internal sidewalk network. And I believe we can show an easement from that point towards the self-storage property. That if and when in the future there was some connection point that used that as a way to route folks, pedestrians, bicyclists, whatever may be, either to the Wawa or down to the Signal to get to the shopping center, instead of, it is a pretty short trail connection through that section anyway. And I don't know how much that would get used, and I don't know that we want to go back on, have the folks on Erie have come back and say, wait a second, we thought you told us you weren't doing that, and here it is.
No, we gotta respect their privacy.
Yeah, I agree with that. We kept in there because it's an ordinance requirement. It was brought up at the conditional use hearing. One board member at least still would like to see the trail connection. I reminded them that the residents were opposed to that. They said, they did forget about that a little bit, but I'm okay with the design. It was presented. They proposed it. Residents prefer not. That's why I'm pushing for the connection out to County Line Road. You can loop around. There's other ways. We don't have to direct people to the back corner. It's not gonna be well lit. I think it's a safety issue as well. It's not a major trail connection at that point, so.
I concur.
That's my thoughts.
And I think functionally, our property becomes the closest point folks are gonna make a cut to go to Wawa. If there's eventually pedestrian connectivity on County Line Road, they're probably coming through instead of walking down to the corner and then up to Wawa. They're gonna come through, and we're fine with that. Makes sense, Craig?
Yeah, and I don't think, I was just thinking, it's not necessarily a waiver request. This was discussed prior, it's just a recommendation. If you choose not to, I don't think it needs to be added to the waiver list. Unless you disagree, Nate, I'm rereading it. You guys been upfront about it, we've discussed it. So if the plan commission agrees, they won't provide any more trails.
What do you guys think?
I agree.
I agree. I agree with the neighbors, their privacy.
And then the last thing I think is really a confirmation, section E3 on page 7. This is relative to the existing or stormwater facilities on site. Looks like, as is probably typical for this time of year, the stormwater basins have been overgrown and have gathered some debris. So anything that we're involved in, we'll have a stormwater operations and maintenance agreement to take care of. If there's something out there on site, I mean, we've contact with the Wawa owner and whatnot to make sure that that's
Turn that over
done.
to the engineers.
Yeah. But otherwise, everything else is a will comply. So if there's any other questions, and if for anybody who hasn't heard this, so it'll be a planned community, which means homeowners association. So there's some requirements in this letter that we have to make sure that the garages can never be converted to living space and that always be vehicle storage. And we'll have to bind some of the conditions of approval within those documents and whatnot. Those will be reviewed by the solicitor. But yeah, I think we've been really appreciative of the feedback, work with the staff, getting things to eliminating technical questions we have and getting to a place where we can present you with a clean, will comply letter. And ask for your recommendation for preliminary approval.
When did you start this?
Winter 20.
I was looking, yeah, we were probably going, yeah, it's been a while. I mean, they went through, first thing was which layout and apartment
right.
versus townhome. So they've followed my recommendations. You're not gonna fast track this. I gotta admit, this has not been fast tracked. They've been very good to work with. The density hasn't increased. It's gone down since we got to this point.
They're gonna get me fired.
Yeah, it's, well, the first sketch plans were, if you want apartments, we eliminated that, and it was townhouse layout, so sorry, Nate. But staff did their job.
All right.
I'd like to hear from the residents.
Yeah.
And then I'll have a couple comments. at
Any
the
other
end.
questions, the board? Everybody good? Staff, you good? I'll open up to the public, at which point you can state your name and your address so we can keep a record. That would be appreciated. Should you have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Kathleen Davis, 32 Clearview, and I'm also the chair of our new EAC, our Environmental Advisory Committee.
Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, so we are fast at work, and I think this would have to come in the form of a request because of the ordinance as they stand now. I'm sure you know that Greg has amendments on the table for the tree ordinances. And by the time you get anywhere close to planting trees, that new ordinance almost certainly will be passed, and we will have native trees as a rule. It's a beautiful list of native trees. The current plan accords with what's in place, which is not all native trees. Got a ginkgo in there, things like that. Pretty, but so the request would be, because I don't know how the timing will work out. You may all put your stamp of approval on this before that amendment gets passed. Would be that the new ordinance list of trees, which is readily available, be used rather than the one that you have right now.
Can we take a look? Can we take a look at it?
And it's nothing special, so.
It's not.
Okay.
It's just, eliminate all, we just want to call native species.
I just want to make sure I'm not saying, oh, sure, but
Yeah.
yeah, we want to, we'd love to take a look at it, so, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely nothing special.
we'll make it a condition that, And I have a draft of that. I'll share it with them, that they go off the new list, which is all native plantings.
Mhm.
Per your request. I have no problem. That's a good idea. I
And
have
most
that.
of what they have is actually okay.
Okay.
Maybe some of the cultivars and
It's the
stuff.
ginkgo.
The ginkgo
That's
gets.
the, yeah, that's the bugaboo.
The London plane tree too, I mean, the decisions have been not to go that way anymore.
Good, appreciate working with us.
And that's a good one.
And then a second request, which, in terms of timing, is simply going, a request as of now. The lighting. Those street lamps, which are absolutely exactly what the overlay requires. In environmental terms, are flashing a lot of, light up and causing light pollution. It is well understood at this point that the best thing to do is to have a street lamp with a shield around it. You probably know that. It's not a big deal. It's simply make sure that the light goes down this way. I just drove by the Wawa and the tall lights that are above Wawa, you know, there's really tall ones. They're all nicely shielded and shoot their lights straight down. However, that row of street lamps, which are what's in the overlay ordinance, are boom, just glaring out. And it's unfortunate, they're also all the way down in front of this development next to the police. So the light there is it's frankly problematic. So at least if we could start to use the shields. And-
I'm not gonna be able to agree with you on that. That's what's in the ordinance. That's what they have to follow, because we have other jobs that are doing the exact same thing. And I have Dunkin' Donuts doing everybody's following the ordinance on that. I understand about the landscaping but I can't change the lights because that's what the board adopted and approved.
So they can't be granted some sort of.
They'd have to be granted a waiver, but I would recommend a question that you can bring it up with the board of supervisors and I
Oh, yeah.
suggest the AC puts a memo to the manager.
Mhm.
But that's a huge change. We have other developments coming here doing the same thing. So all of a sudden you change one and the overlay district that was adopted by this township. I don't have any say. I don't disagree with the technical part of it, but I don't want them changing, agreeing to a light. And then I have other developers just install them or.
You got to amend the overlay district.
I wanted.
Plus the overlay, that's more for the streetscape. That's gonna be internal.
Well, light is light.
Yeah, but I'm saying
Yeah,
it's internal. I got you. I mean, I don't think they have a problem with shields, but
No.
Right,
yeah.
Yeah.
But you're talking about the street, like the corridor, and that's not really the same as their residential development, so.
well, I looked at the lights though, in the plan, and they don't have shields. The street lights.
They comply. Why don't,
They comply.
We'll look at, I mean, they
yeah,
can look
we
at
can,
that.
we don't object either way.
Yeah.
We totally get it.
Yeah, this is something that you guys can work out the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And we appreciate the feedback, so yes. If it's a waiver and adjustment, they can always add it.
You don't need a waiver for that. I can't be waiving the overlay. district.
No, because that's, you defeat the purpose of your overlay district.
Well, because I can't, the board wants to, that's fine.
No, understood.
And we are going to, we have it on our agenda for next time, and we'll, although I can't speak for the entire EAC, but we will probably recommend something to the board. Because this is, residents, one of the first things residents said when we got an EAC was, can you do something about the light pollution? They're just, you know, or their houses, if they're anywhere near Butler, they're around, you know, it's a problem.
Yeah.
So that's why I said this one's even more out there. The first one, it's easy, the trees, that's easy. This one, the timing may not work, but we will be writing to the board and ask them to consider an ordinance amendment on that. Almost certainly, because again, I can't speak for everybody. That's it.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Anybody else?
Mary Margaret Briggs, 245 Forest Park Drive. I am also a member of the EDC and I would concur. We understand that you are following the Butler overlay ordinance, but it'll take you a while to build these townhouses and to put in the street lights and so forth. So if we can get some kind of agreement with the board of supervisors.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
direction. The other thing that it's I don't know, maybe it's you, David, that can clarify for me. I think perhaps it was, I was looking at your previous plans, 4 and 5, and the total lot, maximum impervious, I think maybe was incorrect. I think you have it correct now. Because in Plan 6, you have, the maximum impervious at 70%, and I believe that's at the site level. But you're at 75.2, but that is because of Creamery Tire, I believe.
Yes, I think Creamery Tire, is an existing non-conforming property where I think if everything's not paved, it's darn close to it. So I think Jeff's looking at the number right now.
That was a math error, which is not carried through. It's really 52.6% for the total site. It did say 75. So
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, and that,
Great, that's even better.
I like the 52 number better.
That was my question.
Pop that in the call.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I have Anita Massington over the 522 area. 35-foot high buildings just do not work. It does not fit in with the existing buildings in that area. They're just gonna tower over everything. When I look out my second story window, I'm looking at the back of the garage. And I don't think that's being fair to the neighbors in our neighborhood. I think they should build 2-story and they should build less homes. We already have a major flooding problem from that property. Our homes are being damaged from it. And I don't see how Toll Brothers is going to correct that problem. No.
What's the buffer situation back there? With,
Do you mind walking through the buffer?
just distances between the back of the townhouse to the backyard of an existing neighbor,
And
just to refresh us.
yeah, do you also mind covering the water topography and the way the water would flow to the stormwater?
Sure, I guess the first thing would
You
be.
can turn it a little bit so everybody can see if you don't mind.
Good.
Yeah. Perfect.
Here's our property outline right now, and I believe you're to the north.
Yeah.
Off this page.
Yes.
There is a 75-foot buffer from the back of our property, or back of our homes, to the property line itself. And then it looks, just scaling it, like another 75-foot, maybe 100-foot to the existing homes that are shown in this picture. So there'd be, 150, 175 from the back of the existing home to the back of our proposed home. And in between that would be a 75-foot or a buffer with trees, and that's in portions of that 75 feet.
And we're doing plantings back there too, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
do you typically see 75-foot buffer between residential and residential?
not for townhouses.
No. So the board, when they did the overlay, that was part of what the supervisors want to make sure any future development actually pushed as far back. So that's not common at all to have 75-foot buffer requirement. That was why everything got pinched as far as the depth of them. So they honor that, and they're planting the entire buffer along the back. There'll be no trails back there. It'll be all planted.
Okay, they removed the trail for more private.
They actually asked for a higher, they mentioned earlier, they asked for approval to go higher, that was rejected by the board to stay within zoning. 35, everything in this township was built 35 foot or less. So they're meeting the ordinance requirement, except in industrial, they can go higher in the industrial district. But they actually meet all zoning requirements for the height.
But the houses and businesses in that area are not that high. These.
That's not applicable. They're allowed to build within the confines of what
That's consideration of the people that live there. This is what we're gonna be looking at.
that's.
Is something that's just gonna be jetting up out of the ground. That's not being fair to the residents. You're blocking our sunlight, blocking our airflow. It's causing more water problems, and who's gonna repair the damage to our properties?
There'll be no damage to your property based on this project.
So,
I'm talking about the water runoff and that.
In fact, he'll go over the water runoff. They're actually making it better.
yeah, right now, there's nothing on our property, and so I'm sorry to.
Okay,
Cut you off, and the other, so within either the PCCM or the zoning district. Residential is the least intense use that is permitted, So we're actually below the density, but because of the dimensional constraints of the site, this is the number of homes that can be built on the site. And if you consider other commercial operations that would have things like loading and commercial traffic and backup beepers and all the things that would, be more intrusive. We do understand it is change and it's been a vacant lot for a while. But respectfully, we do think this is of all the options available, this is the least impactful, and we've done everything within our ability to buffer and make sure that it's compliant and least impactful manner as possible. So, and I'm sorry, Jeff, what's the general topography and how does the stormwater flow?
Sure. Existing flow today, is mainly from the Wawa and, west Butler Avenue. Comes down and ultimately goes towards this existing basin. There is a little bit of flow that would go, off our property in the northern corner of our site. So we do have a few study points that we looked at, but, per the ordinance, we are reducing, all the stormwater to at or below the requirements of the site. I believe it's there's a reduction from a certain year storm to the storm below it. As well as we're also doing the NPDES permit and infiltrate, or we're doing the basins will help to clean and infiltrate some of the water into the ground. Again, all per DEP regulations and per township regulations.
So because of the site area or disturbance of site, they need to go to the state for MPDS permit. So they have even stricter requirements that I would get on a smaller project where they don't need to go to the state. And so they have the township regulations and the state regulations for stormwater to comply with. When he mentioned about reducing flow, after development, 100-year storm needs to be reduced down to 50-year storm in existing conditions. So they're reducing, they're not equal storms in pre-development and post-development flow. They actually, our ordinance requires them to reduce even further to this 25-year storm, I think, down to a 10-year storm, 5-year storm down to a 2. So their flow on every job in this township is being reduced after development. Now, there may be a specific drainage issue, and we haven't had anybody, we've been close for almost 2 years. No one in the back has said there's a problem right here on this property. If there is during construction, that's usually when we hear about it. They're always good to work with, and we would address that, but we don't know any, I don't know of any staff. So there's no flooding of property from this new development to the existing homes.
Usually things improve when they do developments, the water management. Usually it's stricter than it used to be.
So again, my question is, why can't they build a 2-story house instead of a 3?
Well,
They can, they choose not to, and that's actually every development we've had. Most are right around 35 foot. They asked you a little higher, and they were like, I think you pushed that pretty good, and the board said no, stay within the zoning. So that's a by right plan when it comes to those other issues that you're mentioning.
Craig, could you elaborate on the 35-foot height? What exactly are we talking to peak for our education? Talking to peak of the.
Actually, Dave may be able to jump in because I'm not sure how
Okay.
it's measured to the
average, to the mean of the roof. What's the word I'm looking for?
Mid-span of the truss, I believe,
Thank you.
from the average.
Yes.
grade to the
There you go.
mid-span, and I don't,
No, you said it much better. I mean, I could go in here and look for the exact wording if you like.
so, and that actually, we're adjusting the roof pitches of the homes to meet the ordinance requirement, so they will be compliant.
All right, anybody else? At this point, if the board feels comfortable, after three and a half years, I don't see a reason why they need to come back in front of us. If the board feels comfortable, if Greg, you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Conditions, subject to.
that was part of why we did a second review, and they agreed to, revise the plans before they see, hoping that they could at least get all the planning issues out. I mean, we're more into the technical issues at this point. I don't see any more planning issues. The waivers are all will comply and we support them. We support them and the ones that have been mentioned, the items. As far as connection to County Line Road for sidewalk, no additional trails, they'll agree to do the native plantings, and then we'll look at shielded lights. Shields for the lights, that'll be investigated and looked at as well. I'll make sure that gets looked at before the board meeting. They're agreeing to all those items, so I have no problem supporting preliminary final for the planning commission.
All right, well, if the board's in agreement, looking for a motion to approve preliminary final.
So
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you very much. Appreciate your work and wanting to work with us.
No problem. Thanks for having us. Thanks for your time today. Appreciate it. Have a good evening. all. Thanks, Fred. Thanks.
All right.
No fight.
Now, yeah. We'll do our best. Yes.
Number 4, zoning board member expansion. Did everybody get a chance to read the ordinance? Not. Basically, they're proposing right now, the zoning hearing board consists of 3 board members for a term of 4 years. Is that correct? 5 years. They're proposing going to a 5-member board with a term of 6 years. 5 years. 5 years. too?
5 years.
I thought 3 was less.
No, they're going from 4 to 5.
We're going from 4 to 5. So the
Yes.
term is the same.
It's a second class township, it's 3 members for 3 years, 5 members for 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 to 5. Thank you.
All right.
I heard it at the board, so that's why I knew
Right.
that. The same question. I asked.
So basically, this is not something we need to vote on. This is something that needs to be brought up to our attention. Again, this is going to be at the discretion of supervisors. And they're proposing on expanding the zoning hearing board to 5 members.
You know why?
I'll,
Yeah, I know
well,
why.
not correct you, but I recommend, it's a text amendment, it's still an amendment to an ordinance, you have every right to vote, if you guys do not support it. I think you should vote on it, if you have any comments. But it's an ordinance text amendment, so I would recommend you at least vote for my planning. There's not a lot of planning with this, but I don't think you should not vote.
That was kind of where I was going earlier today, Marco.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm asking.
Dave and I are not, we have not been involved, so. This is handled at the board level.
So we are supposed to vote?
I'm hearing 2 different things. I'm hearing no vote,
Right.
just opinions, and then I'm hearing vote. So it's like.
What's an ordinance amendment, so you should vote.
Right.
Why do they want to increase the number of people on the board?
They would like to get, I think the reason they gave it, the board meeting, when the zoning hearing board members showed up, was they would like, don't quote me on this, a little more diversity, more people to be, well, just like the planning commission, instead of 3, 5, 7, they'd like to have a few more people. Not saying different opinions, but have more people to discuss projects instead of just 3 people. Really, only 2 people can make a decision, grant a variance.
As a former member of the zoning hearing board on 2 different occasions, I think it's totally unnecessary. I think it's being handled poorly. They did not reappoint probably the most experienced person that sat on that board, a former zoning officer as well. And I think there's reasons that go beyond just diversity of opinion. And I'll stop there. I think the optics are bad. I think handpicking a number of members for an autonomous board like the zoning hearing board doesn't look good. No, really stop there. So,
How many people are supposed to turn over soon? Like, is it? a
They
fresh-
did not,
like-
they, like us, their term expires.
Okay.
The former chair, then was vice chair of the zoning hearing board, who was, again, a former zoning officer in New Britain Township, and had many, many years of experience on the zoning hearing board. They did not reappoint her. to expire. And I think that was a indication of what they're trying to do with this board.
I wonder how realistic it is to get 5 people on the call.
As I said, I spent several years on the zoning hearing board. I don't see what 2 more opinions are going to do. You know, it should be cut dry. This is a quasi judicial board that's independent of the township that
Yeah, it's not about.
renders decisions based on the law.
Right,
And
it's not really about opinions,
It's
it's
not about
about
opinions.
following the law.
there is discretion. I mean, you know,
Yes,
if
Yeah, there is.
hardship is proven, you have the discretion to grant the variances and, but I don't think opinions are important on that board.
If there's any board that needs to be neutral, it's the zoning hearing board. That's why the zoning hearing board is the only board that does not have a liaison with the
They have
supervisor.
their own solicitor.
They have their own solicitor.
They're independent. So if you want my opinion, I would vote no.
But I agree with Craig, there should be a vote that.
We could take a vote. So,
I'll make a motion.
hold on.
I make a motion that we recommend to the board of supervisors that they do not expand the board to 5 members.
do we have a second in either direction?
I
Or
will
a first?
second.
All in favor?
Aye. And when my term expires, I probably will be reappointed again.
I'm actually gonna sit this one out.
I don't believe it.
It's, to me, there's 2 different ways you can look at it, so it doesn't really matter. I understand what you guys are saying at either direction. So we have, how many yeas? 4 yeas?
I was, no. Just wait.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
no.
I guess it's a no.
No,
I guess it's a no.
yeah, that's what's confusing.
You're in favor of raising it? So we have 1 in favor of raising it, 3 in favor of not.
And 1 abstention.
And one abstention.
4 to 1.
At the end of the day, it's just a recommendation from us.
All right,
What was it for?
It was
3 yeas,
3 nays, 1 yay,
3 nays. 1
and 1.
and 1 abstention.
Wait, it's 4,
There's 6 up there.
Yeah, it's
6 of you.
yeah,
Teresa, you said you voted yay, right?
Oh, that's
You voted yay?
No, I voted,
Nay?
yeah,
Okay, come on.
I voted
One,
not
two,
to
three. What did you-
increase the size of the zoning hearing.
Oh,
expand.
Okay,
Okay.
Not expand, I voted.
So it's 4.
4-1-1.
4 to 1, yeah, exactly.
One essential. That was the first thing I did.
I'm sorry, I didn't see you down there.
wow.
Whoa.
Side note.
We're second.
Really?
Yeah.
Very low profile.
Yeah.
You good?
You're good.
All right.
That's the
Dave's got
problem with that's the problem with the denial, it always gets confusing.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Well, no, I'll take the blame, but I didn't see Ken down there because I was over here looking. All right, next is the Chappaqua Borough Comprehensive Plan. I'm not gonna lie to you, I got through about a quarter of it.
Don't leave.
I didn't print it out.
But I will tell you, you know what, not that it matters because a person cannot vote unless they're present, but Debbie also voted to expand it into email to me, that she was sick. So, I just want to mention that.
Doesn't count.
So anyway, going back to Chappaqua Borough Comprehensive Plan, it's, tell you, it's well written, the first 15, 20 pages that I saw. I'm sure you guys need a little bit more time to read it. I mean, you don't have to read it, just browse through it. It's pretty,
Thick.
who did that? Bucks County or?
I believe,
I wasn't asked to look at it, so honestly, I did.
wait, you were on that email, weren't you?
It says prepared.
I have it.
Oh, he
I-
chose to
I wasn't
delete it.
asked to look at it, and I didn't ask you if you wanted me to look at it.
Prepared by who?
He wasn't volunteering.
I didn't volunteer to look at it.
Prepared by Bucks County Planning Commission, it says.
Yeah.
I thought it was-
Honestly,
I thought it
I
was too
skimmed
good
it.
to
It
be
looked
true.
pretty good. I did not look at any of the
It's a
detail, how it impacted.
precursor for our open
County.
space plan.
Now, the last time we updated our plan was 2012, if I'm correct, right? And before that was 1975. No, I'm just
Hey,
kidding.
he's exaggerating.
Like 2012, I believe we did,
I think so.
we did a work. with it.
16 or 18.
16, I think.
Was it?
Was there an update? Okay.
I would just suggest, if you have any comments, to get them to Dave.
Right,
Yeah.
The board acts on it.
right.
When do you need this by?
I mean, if you can get it to me by the end of the week or early next week, if possible.
Early next month?
That is next.
So that's
week.
Friday.
Yeah.
Sure, Marco, Friday.
Yeah, I mean, so if everybody can just browse through it, actually, it's pretty interesting. You know, they have a lot of updated, you know, demographics and population, and all kinds of stuff in there.
Here's the date, March 10th, so we can get it before the March 18th board meeting.
Now, what are they proposing? Are they, do we want to redo ours, update ours, or,
We're currently updating our open space plan
okay,
with Bucks County. So
Okay.
let's do that first and let's go from there. Let's see how that goes. And
Okay.
that would be my suggestion.
all right, good enough?
But no, the comprehensive plan should be on the radar though.
Okay,
Definitely.
I agree.
So we're just supposed to see if we have any comments about their plans.
Pretty much.
Well, if there's,
I would,
there's
if
something-
it impacts, if you think it may impact the
Right.
township. That's how I looked at it.
Yeah, any
Yeah.
comments you
Yeah.
have, just email.
You don't need to, I mean, I skipped the line to skim to see anything like trail connection to the townships,
So.
any type of other public
Makes sense.
improvements. So you don't need to look anything internal to the borough, just anything that touches the township.
right? I mean, you'd have to compare both plans to see if we have it and they don't, or
Right.
vice versa.
It's not, it's not an easy task.
It's not, that's what I'm saying. It took us about a year to update,
Oh, yeah.
if not
I
longer.
would say, yeah.
3 years?
2 years.
2 years?
2 years.
Yeah, I remember those nights.
Seems like
All right. All right, next is New Britain Township Vacant Building Study. That's,
We're sitting here, because we're curious about this comprehensive plan too. Did you say that the Bucks County wrote it for them, or they submitted it to Bucks County?
It's
Bucks County Planning Commission.
Bucks County Planning Commission drafted it.
with their help and approval.
And currently, New Britain Township is using the Bucks County Planning Commission to update our open space plan. So
All right, New Britain Township Vacant Building Study. We don't have a lot of commercial to begin with. The only thing that kind of kicked it off, I went to multiple listing service for commercial, industrial, and a couple of commercial sites. There's not that much out there that's vacant.
Other than what Dave
Believe it or
pointed out,
not.
the shopping centers.
right, I mean,
But yeah, I came up with pretty much what I saw you had today.
Yeah.
Just the office condominiums in High Point. It's.
Yeah, there's a
vacancy.
thing, there's a warehouse in what do you call it, New Britain Industrial Center.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Painted
business
green.
park, thank you. But outside of that, a
And
few,
the old Verizon building.
there's a couple of stores in the New Britain
right.
shopping center.
Well, it's up for sale, or it's actually sold. It hasn't sold yet, but it's sold.
Yeah.
the one on New Galena Road.
But I even did a visual inspection. I must have put 30 or 40 miles on my car one afternoon last week, just driving around. And there was a lot less than I thought, to be honest with you.
The only one I have a question about, not to interrupt you, but when you were driving around, did you have occasion to go the CBS Ferry Road in 313? The condo, office condominiums back there? Did you see much going?
I drove back there. I didn't. I mean, I just did a loop around to see if I could see anything. And it looked, there were cars back there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Believe it or not. So I couldn't, I mean, there might be a suite in there or something that's vacant. I couldn't tell.
No, you can't,
Visually.
unless there's a sign
Right.
up somewhere.
But no, I did take a drive back in there. So a bunch of cars, so I figured.
That's the only one I.
Most of it's occupied. That was my assumption.
Yeah, sounds good, but I'm not sure where we're going with this, so.
Yeah, it's basically, as the memo said, see, what COVID did on businesses in the township. See financially where we're going in the next 5 years. So. But yeah, again, if you have any further comments with that, please just send them.
I don't, I mean, the only thing we don't have is people that do it on their own, you know.
Do what?
Lease or sell on their own without the need of a real estate company. It's something that wouldn't be, you know, publicized necessarily to the public.
That's why those are hard to tell, because I think one company owns.
Right.
most of that.
Right. I mean, the biggest vacant building right now is 8 Weber, as we all know. But that's really.
Yeah, and that's not even in the system, so it's like,
Right.
And they once, Petrucci tried to buy that when they're sketching up their concept plans for the assisted living facility and all the stuff they wanted to.
Right.
And they wouldn't talk to them. Even though the building's completely, because the staff pushed that as well, to see about,
that would be great.
redevelopment.
I mean, how nice, that would be a great assisted living community.
There need more of
It's next behind Rothman. The New Bern Shopping Center in the back.
Where those apartments are there?
Yeah.
You gotta ride your horse a little south of the
It was here.
to get down that area.
originally,
All right.
Too dangerous.
wasn't originally, Chrysler, credit, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Chrysler.
Yeah. I knew that, though. I didn't know what it was called.
All right.
Don't feel bad. I
Public
didn't.
comments? No, good. With that said, motion to adjourn,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting adjourned.